Mr. Secretary, some people say that our economic security is national security. Nearly 20 million Americans woke up this morning either unemployed or underemployed. Now, the President didn't mention these Americans when he announced his plan to grant de facto amnesty and work permits to up to 5 million illegal immigrants. He didn't discuss the competition this would create for them or the impact it would have on their pocketbooks. And your series of memoranda outlining this policy for him didn't mention them either. To address this problem and protect the American worker, I introduced legislation prior to the President's announcement that would make clear that illegal immigrants benefiting from his executive amnesty are not authorized to work in the United States. When it comes to illegal immigration, the conversation is always about the illegal immigrant, not about the people that it will affect. And you see, Mr. Secretary, I don't think it's fair, especially around the holidays, to put illegal immigrants ahead of the American worker. Secretary Johnson, the President keeps saying that his executive action will boost the economy. So tell me, how will adding at least 5 million new competitors to the workforce make it easier for the unemployed Americans to find a job?
Congressman, the fact is, as I'm sure you know, that we have lots of undocumented in this country working off the books. And if that's not apparent, then I suggest you spend some time in a restaurant here in the Washington, D.C. area to see it for yourself. What we want to do is encourage those people to get on the books, and I will provide them a work authorization so that they may legally continue in the.
But how does that make it easier for the American worker? We keep talking about the illegal immigrant. Here we go again, talking about the illegal immigrant and how we can make it easier for them. How does this help the American worker who can't find work and can't provide for his family? Who's fighting for them? Why don't we talk about the American worker and what this will do to them, not what it will do for the illegal immigrant?
Well, the economy is getting better, as I'm sure you know, and the question of U.S. jobs, American jobs, is, in my view, a separate issue. What I want to do,
adding 5 million more competitors for these jobs will make it easier?
If I may finish my sentence, the estimate is that the potential class is up to 4 million. Not all of those will apply. The goal is to encourage these people who are now working off the books, and we do have undocumented immigrants in this country working off the books, to get on the books, pay taxes into the Federal Treasury pursuant to a work authorization. The assessment is that that will not impinge upon American jobs with American workers.
Mr. Secretary, is it true that the illegal immigrants who are granted amnesty will not need to comply with the Affordable Care Act?
Those who are candidates for and are accepted into the Deferred Action Program will not be eligible for.
So therefore, an employer, may have a decision to make: do I keep the American worker and provide health insurance, or pay a $3,000 fine, or do I get rid of the American worker and hire someone who I do not have to provide health insurance and I won't get fined? Is that a possibility?
I don't see it that way.
You don't think any employers will see it that way?
I don't think I see it that way. No, no, sir.
Following the 9/11 Commission report, the Commission staff issued a report on terrorist travel that made connections between enforcement of our immigration laws and national security. On page 98 of that report, it describes how terrorists would benefit from any form of amnesty. The report recognized that terrorists in the 90s, as well as the September 11th hijackers, needed to find a way to stay in or embed themselves in the United States if their operational plans were to come to fruition. This tells us what we all know, that terrorists want two things. They want to get into this country, and then they want to stay here. Mr. Secretary, does the President's executive actions facilitate just that by not heeding the advice of the 9/11 Commission and its staff? And how can this administration justify its executive actions on immigration when it directly contradicts their findings?
The reality is that we have an estimated 11.3 million undocumented in this country. From my Homeland Security perspective, and from the perspective of someone whose principal mission is counterterrorism, I want to see those people come out of the shadows I want to encourage people.
But you did testify in the last hearing.
If I may finish my sentence, I want people to submit to criminal background checks and come out of the shadows. The problem we have right now is we have 11 million people in this country, and we do not know who they are. From the perspective of what you just read from that 9/11 Commission report, we are vulnerable. I want people to come out of the shadows.
Mr. Secretary, you testified at the last hearing, and you agreed with me, and your words were, most criminals do not subject themselves to criminal background checks.
I want as many as possible to submit to criminal background checks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.